Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Leasing Highway, a podcast focused on the heartbeat of the multifamily space. And I'm Ian Andrews.
And I'm Karen Gladney. And today we are welcoming Brandon Hegland with the Michaels organization and VP. We are so thrilled. Brandon's got a world of experience, and I do mean a world because he served in the military as well. So we'll talk about those experiences. And I personally have known Brandon for 20 years. So Brandon, I'm going to kick it to you and just share your story with people and your background. I just think you've got a really cool background and story to share.
Thanks. Well, so excited to be here and so great catching up. We were just joking, before that this is a weird way to catch up. I wish we were in person so we could do the whole awkward, like I'll reach out for a handshake and Ian will reach out with knuckles, switch, and then we'll just decide like, I don't know what to do. And then I'll say, hey, I'm Brandon, I'm vaccinated. And so you take your mask off, and Ian could say, yeah, I'm not vaccinated and I'm not going to get vaccinated, but I'm going to take my mask off anyway, and it's okay. And then we get to go back to the old days. So,
and then I'll just hug you both.
So that was my experience. So last week we were talking about travel. Last week I went to San Diego, my first trip in over a year off the island. So out there working and meeting a new team, and that was the way the introductions were. We're like, it was this whole awkward thing. Like, is it okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, is this going to go to HR? Am I going to get in trouble? I don't know.
Right. I heard TAA, they had their first conference, a few weeks ago, and they had green bracelets if you were open to hugging, yellow if you were a fist bumper, and red if you were like no contact or something like that. But TAA, we all know they start drinking some beers at 8 a.m. So by the time noon came around, people had all three colors on. So you didn't.
Yeah. They realized you can make Rasta bracelets just by putting a bunch on. So the whole thing just.
That's actually super fun. And we're still planning on having our regional training. So as a company, Kimberly Schreiber, our president, just loves getting us all together and rolling out those regional trainings. And we're still planning on doing that this fall, and in the early planning stages of that, and like, what does that look like? And we're going to be able to travel, and but that is a fun idea because I'm a hugger. So I love hugs, and and it gets awkward, right? So if I had a bracelet, I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, share some of your background, Brandon. No, you're good.
I missed you guys so much that I just want to sit and chit chat because it is amazing. I was thinking back, before I deployed. Remember, I think it was 2004 or so. I think we were having dinner in Highlands Ranch. And we had this awesome waitress with these amazing eyes, and we were both like, oh my God, we should hire her. And you had a business card, and I didn't. And you happened to write your number on it. She was getting ready to go travel the world.
Yep.
And turns out to be April Andrews. So I come back from Iraq, and she's with Power, and just such a cool story. But just time has flown, and it's just amazing. I'm looking back, and Ian, I think it's been 13 years, right? I mean, it's
it's been a long time.
2008, and with Karen, it's been amazingly 20 years. It's crazy, and you're just one of my two friends that I can talk to once a year, once every 2 years, whatever, and we're just never miss a beat. I just love that. You guys are so amazing. I can't believe April's still there, just killing it. You guys are like a family, and it's just so great. So congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So getting back to me. I'm Brandon Hegland. I'm vaccinated, and I'm the Vice President of National Marketing and Leasing for the Michaels organization. So it's one of the best companies that most people have never heard of. It's huge, over 400 properties, 40 states. TMO.com if anybody's interested. So a little background on me, past lives. I've been an apartment owner. So I always find that story fun to tell because in my enlisted days, I couldn't afford to buy a house. So I was able to use a VA loan to buy apartments, buy my first apartment building. And that's how I afforded to live off base as a lower enlisted. And so that kind of, got me into that apartment industry. So then, I was in and out of the Army, couldn't make up my mind, ended up with about 10 years in service over a 20-year period. My college background was in automotive technology. I was an ASE certified automotive mechanic, one of my favorite jobs ever. Been real estate agent, property manager, self-employed for 14 years, and just a very diverse background that I'm so grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing that from how we originally met, I always saw you on the vendor side, and you were definitely one of the first people I knew that was knees deep in technology and working with engineers overseas and doing all the only other person I knew that was crazy enough to get to that world at the time. And but I thinking back to it, you've just had so much insight from being on both the vendor side and what you've learned from being on that side, not just being on the vendor side, but literally running your own company and starting it there, and being deep in the technology to actually being on the management and ownership side and really understanding how things work in the operations. And just curious from your standpoint, what insights do you think you've gleaned from being on both sides of the equation there?
Well, that's a great question. Because I feel like that experience is what has set me up for the career I'm in now. So being a vendor on the marketing and leasing side, just visiting properties, we used to hold about 400 accounts in Denver, and getting to see all of those properties. And I watched your podcast with Anissa, and she talked about the JPI team, and Karen remembers, the day, like you go to an apartment association event and the JPI team walked in their black suits and white shirts, and you knew they were JPI. And that was cool. And I remember the property she talked about leasing up. That's Windsor Meridian with the model attached to the clubhouse. And she's right. They're building properties that were just blowing our mind at the time. And today that would be, even new construction would probably be a B product, which is interesting. But back then it was like ultra luxury and so much fun. So witnessing, those events where you watch companies that really have it dialed in, really put emphasis on the processes, like repeatable process. Every property JPI did, they had, you could walk in and the construction and the way it was managed, you knew it was a JPI property. It was so cool, which then became Windsor. But so great. So it's just seeing that over such a long period of time, seeing so many different properties and what was done well, and just taking bits and pieces of everything that was done well, and then realizing the things that could be done better as well. Just really being on the management side, you're like, oh, this is why, the basics are still the most important thing. The curb appeal, answering the phone, turning your lights on, is your phone number posted, just real basic stuff. And we still struggle with it. It's amazing. So, which is great. Job security, right? I mean, you're going to be training and those processes, we don't learn everything the first time. It's a lifetime of experience and training and revisiting and relearning and just going around. So that has probably been my greatest achievement. And also, being on the vendor side, as you guys know, I mean, you get beat up for pricing, and I get it. Everybody's trying to maximize return and stuff, but it's now being on the management side, I can be a little kinder and, really work towards those win-win relationships, like what is good for the vendor so they can be here for years to come as well as perform for me. So.
Yeah, I think what you say about getting that exposure, Brandon, to all the different properties makes such a difference, and being able to pull what people are doing well and what you can do better. And then when you talk about the basics, it's so often we have people come to us and say, "Hey, can you do a outside the box advanced training?" And yes, but I feel like part of any advanced training is also the reminding ourselves of those basics throughout our careers. It's amazing how many times, like you said, it still comes up, and it's just something that we've missed in the chaos of launching it, getting a property out of the ground, and then all of a sudden somebody walks up and says, "Where's your phone number?"
Right.
What?
Yeah.
But like you said, job security. Well, we're gonna take our first break, and when we come back, of course, lots more questions for you. So we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome to your beautiful new apartment home here at Gables Point 14. As you can see, we're featuring this beautiful one-bedroom den.
Welcome to the Get Focused podcast, a show with stimulating conversation about optimizing our human potential for those who think outside of the box. You'll hear thought-provoking conversation designed to help you blow past your obstacles and create strength and motivation in everything you do. Now, it's time to start thinking outside of the box. It's time to get focused.
Welcome back, everybody. All right. So we talked about management side, worker side, owning properties, and that perspective. Also, I always find it super fascinating. People who have been able to, and thank you for this, but spent time in the military and served our country. There's so much that you gain from that. And I even remember you saying how you missed it. You missed your troops and you missed some of the camaraderie. And talk about what you've been able to pull from your experience in the military to bring to your teams with property management.
Yeah, I did love the military. I still think of myself as Staff Sergeant Hegland.
Yeah.
So, sorry, there's a bit of an echo, so it slows me off.
We don't hear the echo on this end.
I don't know. You just refresh. There we go.
Cool.
Well, I still have. So I'm going to do the best I can, but if I stutter, figure it out. So military is always training. We talked about revisiting over and over the things that we learn, and so I'd like to repeat those processes. And counting on each other. In the military, you've got to count on each other to do your job. And so I often like to refer back to the Army leadership manuals. And there's a great piece on respect. And, it says that respect is trusting each other to get the job done, and self-respect is vital. So, getting too in the weeds on everything and, just giving up some of that control is often a good thing. So with military, you take over to your teams. If you are a property manager or in charge of a department or something, you're just micromanaging and telling everybody how it's going to be done. You're just really inefficient, and you may as well do the work yourself. So really breaking down the jobs and assigning tasks and following up and just trusting each other to get the job done. And I think Karen, you coined the term trust but verify. So those are great. I love the Army after action review. So what went great, what went wrong, what are we going to do better next time? And it's just it's a great tool every time. You can do that every day, and everybody can do that every day. The leasing office, what went well? Well, we didn't make sure the maintenance guys came in at 7:30 and addressed the curb appeal, and it looked terrible all day, and that affects everything. It affects from people deciding whether or not to come in, to morale, to reputation. I think that's a great thing. So just the Army values, integrity and respect, that the emphasis on that is huge. So I think just respect and trust is what I like to carry over. And it's a lot harder in the civilian world than the military. It's a jungle out here.
It is a jungle.
It seems like a lot of it is looking at no matter what you're doing, examining the process and examining those core values about what go into it, and what you've done can have a huge impact on just how people work together and how whether it's efficiency or just treating each other nicely, will have a huge impact on no matter what it is you're doing. One thing that you've done a lot of, and curious on that same kind of process or any tips that you have on this, is taking over a property. When you're coming in and you're taking over a new property, what are those things you look for? What are those first things that you attack, and how do you approach that?
Excellent question. The netco's gone. Wonderful.
Yes, it is.
Probably my internet or something, being out here.
Well, you're in Hawaii, so
Yeah,
anybody who doesn't know, Brandon is calling in at like 5 or 6. I guess it's probably 6:15 now your time. So thank you.
That echoes your voice bouncing off the waves.
Exactly. Ian has no sense. So when you take over a property, you want to ensure continuity of care for the residents and the leasing processes. So you don't want to walk in and just disrupting everything and tell everybody they're doing things wrong, and now we're going to do it like this. So, taking a more metered approach. But there are little things that you can jump into immediately, and that is, the curb appeal. Like, what does it look like driving up to the property? What does the signage look like? Or the driveway swept and edged? Is the grass green and trimmed? Is your business advertised? Are you open? Are you saying come in? Those are things anybody can jump in and do, and you just ask people to address, and it takes a couple minutes and it makes a huge impact. So, just that customer experience and, modifying the processes. So, then you can start digging in deeper and, what's going on, because if we're taking over, not always, but often there's a problem, so, you and I have worked together for years, and that's probably some of my favorite experiences are getting to go outside of Denver, to like Boston, and walking into a 500 unit property with 250 vacants and be like, oh my God, this property's awesome. Why is it vacant? And then you walk into an apartment and the sliding door is open and there's pigeons in there and they're living in the apartment. Like, Oh, well, that makes sense. So what do you address there? You move the pigeons out and close the door. It's like, clean it up. The basics. What do your turns look like? Or is the paint job good, or are there strokes and runs and half a wall painted and not blended? Just really simple things, doing the basics really well. And I think I learned that from Power and from you, and is just do the basics really good.
It definitely matters to control those little things, and it feels empowering too, right? To know that you can control that. Before we came on the air this morning, you were talking about 7 lease ups alone in Hawaii, that you have just come back from San Diego. And my time knowing you, like you said, you've been from the East Coast to the West Coast, so you've seen a ton of properties. And I feel like I know where the answer might go on this, but still want to address it. Just consistencies and differences that you see across the country. Because a lot of times I'll hear somebody say, "Oh, well, this is Minneapolis, and our renters are different." But there are things I'm sure you've seen that are consistent and things that are different. What have you noticed?
Well, I feel like renters are all the same. They want good customer service, and they are paying, rent is their biggest bill. Unless you own a home, rent is taking up a huge chunk of your paycheck. So they have expectations, and that doesn't matter where you're at. And so Hawaii has been interesting because some of our properties are affordable, Section 8. Some of them are low-income housing tax credit, the LIHTC properties. Some of them are workforce housing. Some are senior, some are regular. So, that's been interesting. And, we've really focused on brand and reputation. So we've got a 555 unit public housing property with like a 4.5-star rating.
Wow.
That's, how do you do that? You
Wow.
have a really good team and you do a good job. And they might not be paying as much as somebody living in an ultra luxury high rise in Waikiki or downtown Denver or Seattle or something, but to them it's still an equal percentage. You're paying 50%
Right.
of what you make, and there's expectations that come with that. So I think renters, wherever you go, there's a certain expectation of management, and that doesn't change. Some things, there might be minor cultural differences, but everybody wants to be treated with respect, kindness. You got to have your leasing processes down. You got to have the lights on, answer your phone, and just tell people you're available and you want them to come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take another quick break here, and then have a couple more questions before we have to go here. So
It goes so fast.
I know.
Introducing Remote Lock Universal Access Control. Remote Lock lets you manage any lock, from smart locks to hardwired access control systems, securing every door from the main entrance to the rooftop patio. And you get to choose from the best top-of-the-line smart locks out there, from brands like Yale, Schlage, Kwikset, August, Mercury, and many more. Now you can configure and add access at the push of a button and set up customized schedules for each and every user, all within a matter of minutes. It even works with property management and booking software like Airbnb, Guesty, Entrata, RealPage, and more. With Remote Lock, you'll finally have a future-proof solution that controls all your properties around the world from a single, easy-to-use platform. Let Remote Lock be the last access control partner you'll ever need.
Hey, welcome back. One thing I wanted to just say as a theme I've kind of noticed too throughout this conversation is really, it's amazing how we can get so wrapped up with all the new technology and new and data and what everything that's out there. But at the end of the day, so much comes back to just the basic block and tackling, right? Understand and put yourself in the place of your customers and what it is that they're doing and that emotional decision it's making it, and execute on those things that, are really those pillars and have been those pillars for the last 100 years. And I just think it's a constant theme. And so one of the next questions I wanted to go into with that, in the changing environment and really with the millennial and Gen Zs coming up and just viewing the renting process and marketing side of things a little bit differently. What's your approach to that, or how does that change based on the different generations, I guess?
Well, I think the last 20 years have been so exciting, right? You've gone from phone books, when I started apartment guys, I was in like 15 phone books. It cost $20,000 a month, and I had the smallest ads. Like, it was killing me, right? And then Craigslist comes out. I'm like, oh my God, if I get on Craigslist really quick and just do it consistently, I had more leads than I could handle. And it was just so it was just so exciting. And now you've got Facebook Marketplace and just things keep changing all the time, and it's been so fun watching it evolve. And from for a magazine, and back when I didn't have any money, stuffing my cards inside the magazine, putting them on windshields and then having to go pick them up.
It's only funny because it's true.
So I love digital, and it's been great. I think the option to lease apartments digitally is really fun. So my time with Equity Residential, they don't touch any paper in the office. You come in and if you like it and want to lease, they throw a Chromebook at you and sit you down and just say, hey, ask me if you have any questions. And you go through it and do it. And people really like it, and sometimes every once in a while you get somebody who wants a paper copy or but for the most part, it's not pushing back. With Michael's, with some of the requirements with affordable housing, we are required to get wet signature still. So we've not, adopted DocuSign. We're still killing trees, but hopefully that's going to change. And then with the student and military and market rate, I'm really excited to get in there and really work with those processes. But I think I love embracing that tech side, and figuring out how can we make it easier for the renter and for ourselves. And I think, generationally, Gen Z, they don't expect anything different than what we did when we were kids. They're young, they're eager. They're educated, and they're fast and mobile. So, if you don't answer the phone, they're like, well, you must not want my business. They're on the road. So you still got to stick to the basics. So, but if you put your name out there, you build your brand and reputation, and, they'll do the research and find you. So in some ways, the marketing has become easier. And sometimes, everybody gets so excited and they hear a funky term like geofencing, and they're like, oh my God, we got to be doing that. And but they got 2-star review on Google,
right?
Let's start with that, and then what kind of customers are you going to bring in? If you have a 2-star review, you can spend all the money in the world, and it just
right.
Yeah. It is interesting, like how over, one shift that I've kind of seen too is just that, over the last, we'll call it decade, it used to be all the money is spent on trying to get found. And now it's actually, I think what's good for everyone is now that money, a lot of it is getting spent on actually, trying to make sure those reviews and performance is actually up there. So, rather than focusing on just people finding you, let's focus, back on our residents and our prospects on making that experience be something that they're proud of, so that they'll spread the word, and because that information will be found.
Well, and I like what you said too about no matter what the generation is, Brandon, because we all have short attention spans. It's not just, we're all adapting to technology as it comes out. So, like you said, put yourself out there and you'll be appealing to all the generations. But it's time for our walk-off home run question. And I always say this, that it's gone so fast, but it's true. So our last question to you is, what piece of advice would you give to somebody who is new to the industry and not, again, they could be new on the service side, new on the leasing side, new in a marketing department, but what would you say, what would be your piece of advice?
Well, I am where I am because of mentors. So mentors like you, Karen, Kimberly Schreiber, who introduced us and is now the president. She's given me several opportunities over the years, and she knows because I will work myself into the ground. I don't mind working 20 hours a day if that's what it takes to get the job done. And because we're friends and she's a mentor, she knows, I'm going to be there for her. I've got her back 100%. Same with you. If I needed something, I feel like if I called you up and we haven't seen each other in 2 years and said, I need you, you would be here for me. You get on a plane and jump out. And I hope you feel the same about me. And that's what I would recommend to anybody starting out any career, in this industry or anything else, is really find some mentors. When you find somebody you click with, be good to them and stick with them, and just take care of that, because that's those relationships are going to carry you through a career no matter what you do.
That's so true, and I do feel the same way. So, well, thank you, Brandon, for spending your very early morning with us from Hawaii. Definitely the farthest out person we've had join us, I think, most miles away. Tracy was pretty far too. She was in DC, or Maryland. But anyway,
Well, and you can't work 20 hours a day without waking up at 5:45. So
Exactly.
Well said. Well, the next couple of weeks are going to be a mosh, or we're gonna blend everybody's interviews or podcasts from the last several weeks and take the highs, and so that'll be the next 2 weeks. We'll take a little break and then we'll come back with a fresh guest in a couple of weeks. But thank you again, Brandon. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me. It's been so great catching up. I miss you guys. Hope to see you soon, and we'll be a little closer. We'll be 1,000 miles apart pretty soon, and that's pretty sure.
That's right. Virtual hugs. Bye, everybody.
Virtual hugs. Yes. I'm a hugger. No red bracelet here.
Yeah.
Tell April I said hi, Ian, and send a picture of the baby. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I will.
All right.